Today on Dr. Phil.
You say 99% of the time you drink, you drive.
Yes.
She doesn't believe she has a problem.
Do you ever black out?
I don't ever recall blacking out while driving.
But if this continues...
Has she driven drunk with children?
She has had a beer before getting in the car with her kids.
She's on the road to disaster.
You're either going to get busted or killed or get somebody else killed. You don't have the right to do that. Let's do it. If we're going to do something here that matters, then we got to deal with the truth.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
If I can help get this family back on track, are you willing to do that?
Ready, three, take.
This is going to be a changing day in your life. I'm starting the show seated comfortably in a car today, much like you do every day when you drive. You expect to feel safe as you go about your business, run your errands, and motor around town, right? But sadly, the last person who sat in this very seat encountered a tragic surprise. It happened when someone decided it was a good idea to drink and drive. This car was part of a three-car collision, all due to a drunk driver. Now, miraculously, there were no fatalities, but that's rarely the case. It's a sad truth that every 50 minutes, just as we're taping this show today, someone will be killed in a drunk driving accident. That means before this show is over, someone will lose their life. Truth be told, these drunk drivers share the road with you, me, and our loved ones. It seems none of us are safe.
Diane Schuler, the mother driving the wrong way on the Taconic, was drinking and doing drugs right before the deadly crash.
In a toxicology report, 36-year-old Diane Schuler was under the influence of marijuana and had the equivalent of 10 shots of vodka in her system.
Investigators say this unthinkable behavior killed herself,
Her young daughter, her 3 nieces, and 3 strangers.
A horrific car crash kills Angels pitcher Nick Adenhart.
Adenhart and 2 others were killed by an alleged drunk driver last night.
Prosecutors say Gallo's blood alcohol was almost 3 times the legal limit.
A popular local reality star is dead tonight after his car crashes and burns in the woods of Chester County.
Police indicate Dunn's blood alcohol level was nearly twice the legal limit.
Well, later in the show, we'll talk to the sister of the unnamed passenger that died in that car with Ryan Dunn that night. He had a name, he had a family, and they hurt. But first, Kelly says she gets behind the wheel intoxicated every week, and she says she is tired of being lectured about it.
I drink and drive. There have been times where I was drinking a 12-pack a day. Could I have a draft, please? At the bar, I will end up staying until the last call. And if I decide to leave early, I will purchase a 6-pack to take along home with me. I have a high tolerance, so when I do leave the bar, I feel like I'm fine to drive. I know that I've blacked out before, but I don't ever recall blacking out while driving. There have been times where I have had several drinks in the bar thinking that I was okay to drive, waking up the next morning and wondering how I got home or where my car is. I feel that I don't have an alcohol problem. When somebody tries to take my keys from me, I will push them away and cause a scene. There are times where my son will come up to me and ask me, "Mom, you smell of beer. How many have you had?" And of course, my answer would be, I've only had 1 or 2 beers. There's nothing wrong with that. I've lost a lot of friendships and a lot of trust in my family from my drinking habits. When I found out that my niece Samantha emailed Dr. Phil, I was very appalled. I haven't caused any damage to anybody physically or emotionally. The day that I wake up with a DUI or in jail, that's when I'm gonna hit rock bottom.
Okay, so until something bad happens, you're good to go.
I feel like that's true.
Okay. You said 99.9% of the time you drink, you drive.
Yes.
So this is just, so you must go somewhere. You go to a bar or somewhere to drink.
To a bar, to a friend's house.
Yeah, okay. And on a typical night, you say you down 6 to 7 beers in 1 to 2 hours, and that you sometimes will do 8 to 13 beers and a mixed drink between, say, 5 and 2 a.m.
till the bar closes.
We did a calculation based on your height and weight and all. You would have a blood alcohol content level that would be about 0.271, which would be more than 3 times the legal limit. Now, this is what you say you drink. Do you ever black out?
I'm sure that I have. There's times where I look back and think of like what happened that night, or look at text messages from the previous night and not wondering what I had said.
How do you not remember how you got home? I mean, does that worry you?
I remember going into the house, turning my car off, but the next morning I don't recollect what time I get home. Or.
So you're losing patches.
Correct.
The reason you can't recall it is because you weren't consciously there, which means you were unconsciously operating a vehicle. You said, and I quote, "I've probably driven my kids after a drink, but I'm not drunk."
After a beer or two, yes.
Yeah. And we know that a beer or two is kind of generic speak for when you're being defensive about somebody talking about your drinking.
I guess. I don't know.
You said you were tired of being lectured. How tired are you of it right now? Am I irritating you?
It frustrates me.
Am I irritating you?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. Well, hang with me. I'm coming. You say you physically push friends out of the way and that you've lost friends because they try to tell you don't drink when you're driving.
Correct.
Your niece wrote in, right?
Yes, my niece Samantha wrote in, and I was very appalled to hear.
Yeah. You were appalled that she would do that.
Yes.
She's here. This is Samantha right here. Why did you feel the need to write in?
We, as a family, thought that, it was going too far, and we needed to stop it before something did happen. Before she killed someone, or got a DUI, or ended up in jail.
Yeah, and you said you were appalled when she wrote in, so why are you here?
I think that realizing how it has affected my family and friends, and Sam and I aren't the closest, but we're a family. And to know that someone that's not that close that I live with, actually, I'm hurting more people than I think that I'm hurting. Yeah. I did not think that I've done nothing wrong to anybody. I haven't hurt anybody. I thought, going out and having drinks with friends, that I wasn't hurting anybody. But I feel that one of these days I'm going to hit rock bottom.
And you're waiting till that happens.
I don't want to wait till that happens.
I mean, are you telling me that you need a death trigger?
No, I don't.
In order for you to decide that what you're doing? Because commonsensically, don't you?
That's why I chose to come out here, to see if I can get some type of help.
Because commonsensically,
Yes.
You know that you drink too much, right?
I don't want to believe it, but
Does she drink? Has she driven drunk with children?
I know that she has had a beer before actually getting in the car with her kids.
Do you think you have a pretty high tolerance?
I do.
Yeah. What do you think you can drink before it impairs you?
I'm thinking I could have at least 3 or 4 beers without being totally impaired.
But you also said you can't drink 3 or 4 beers and stop. You say, I'm going to stay a while, have a few beers, and then go. And then hours later, you're still there, true?
Correct.
But
there are times where I can just go in and have a beer or two. There's 5, 7 days in a row that I can go without having a drop of alcohol.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. It means absolutely nothing as to whether you're an alcoholic or not. What percentage of the time that you drink do you think you get drunk?
50, 60% of the time.
50, 60% of the time? So extrapolate that to how many times you drive drunk. So you figure you're drunk and driving drunk, what, 25% of the time?
Yes.
So 25% of the time, you're driving drunk. Unbelievable.
Depending on how you classify drunk, from a 0.08 up.
Based on what you tell us you drink, you're running triple. Triple. You say, here's what I drank. We did the calculation, that's tripled. You say, there are times I don't even remember how I got home. Do you get the common sense of why it's missing? Because you weren't there for it. If you watch a TV show and I ask you what happened right before the commercial, you can tell me, right? Unless you went to sleep before the commercial, then you can't tell me because you weren't there. When people black out, it means your brain turned off. You weren't there. And if you can't remember how you got home, that means your brain turned off and you're driving down the street. You're just in reactive mode. Now, Kelly insists that her high tolerance to alcohol allows her to drive home safely. And she's got evidence for this because she said, I've never crashed, I've never gotten a DUI. So we're going to see how skillful she is when we put her to the test. We'll be right back.
These fog glasses here are going to simulate under the influence of a .25. What I need you to do is put these on.
Everything was blurry to me.
Keep going.
Thought I did okay.
A 24-year-old St. Paul man is in serious condition after police say he tried to stop a friend from driving home drunk. Police say Kyle Kissinger attempted to stop his friend Jason Lee Schultz from getting behind the wheel. Kissinger apparently got hung up in the car as his friend pulled away. He was dragged for 2 blocks. Doctors say Kissinger suffered severe brain trauma.
Well, that was another tragic story in the news about someone who tried to stop his friend from driving to near devastating consequences. Now, Kelly says it's not uncommon for her to black out while driving home from the bar, but she insists that she's not an alcoholic because she says, I can go 4, 5, 7 days without having a drink. I wanted to safely see how Kelly drives when she's drunk. So we first had her drive a cone course completely sober, and she did just fine. Then we asked our friends at the Los Angeles Police Department's Valley Traffic Division for something a little more challenging. Take a look.
Hello, Kelly.
Hi,
My
how
name's
are you?
Officer Nellis. These fog glasses here are going to simulate under the influence of a .25. What I need you to do is put these on. Nice and slow. There you go.
I'm taking a right, coming to a stop sign.
Keep going. Okay, you are in reverse. Go ahead and back up for me. Keep going.
I felt like I was very disoriented and everything was blurry to me. There were several cones that I know that I hit because I could hear it. Other than that, I thought I did okay.
Other than that, you thought you did okay. Did you see those could be people, mailboxes, dogs, cats, cars?
Right.
Here, they were just cones, and you were moving slowly in a golf cart. And those goggles that you had on, again, through scientific research, are calibrated to match that they were less than what you normally would test at. Now, Captain Ivan Menzel from the LAPD's Valley Traffic Division helped administer the driving test. So, Captain, how'd she do?
She didn't do well at all. She would be arrested and prosecuted for DUI in the state of California.
You're hearing her make some explanations, justifications. You ever heard any of those before?
Oh, yes. Everything.
What do you hear on the side of the road?
You know, I only had one, I only had two. I'm in denial. I didn't drink and drive. I only had a glass of wine with dinner.
But you think you basically did okay?
I thought so.
When
I was actually taking the test, I felt very disoriented. Everything was a little blurry to me. It was hard to stay in between the cones.
This is what it looks like with the goggles on. And if you're moving, you know, we're now panning around in a very slow manner, but Captain, if you're moving 35, 50, 70 miles an hour, boy, this stuff really gets difficult to navigate, right?
Absolutely, sir. It's accelerated.
Yeah, everything starts happening really, really fast. Now, you said two things that I wanted to ask you to reconcile for me. Everybody thinks I have a problem, but I don't think I do. Accepting the fact that if I'm wrong, that I need the help, but I don't think I need it.
I don't want to think I have a problem. There's days I can go without alcohol.
You've said that many times.
Right.
Is that your test, that if you can go without it, then you must not be addicted to it, you must not need it?
Right.
So that's your theory.
Yes.
So what's going to happen to get your attention? I mean, because you can't convince me. I mean, as you're sitting here now, you're very flat. You're very, I don't know if you're scared or you're defensive or you're depressed or what, but you're really flat of affect when we talk about this. Tell me why you think
scary.
that is.
I look back and think of all the danger that I could cause, and I want to make sure that I don't hit that rock bottom, and I want to stop and help other people realize that one beer and getting behind the bar is the same as, or behind the car is the same as drinking 4 to 6 beers.
Well, I understand. You say, oh, you want to educate everybody else. Well, you know,
I have to do that myself
Let's
first.
start with you.
I have to do it myself.
You say that 25% of the time that you're driving, you're drunk. And I'm telling you, you don't have the right to do that. I don't care whether you think that's what the law should be or you think that you are some physiological anomaly, that you can handle this better than anybody else. I don't really care what your opinion is. You don't have the right to do that. There are people in your town, I mean, they have children. I have grandchildren now. I think about it. I don't want, seriously, I don't want some arrogant, defensive, belligerent drunk that thinks they're good enough to beat the curve, to come across the center line and kill my children. I don't want anybody to do that. Not you, not anybody else. And you say, I haven't hit rock bottom yet. What does that mean? I'm trying to stop you before you do. Let's say you have a crash and you kill somebody else.
Either.
All right, come with me, if you would. Come back here. You said you drive a Pontiac, right? Is it about the size of this car?
Yes.
Okay, this car probably weighs 2,000 to 3,000 pounds. A drunk driver hit these people. Can you imagine if one of your children are sitting there because you're not paying attention? And you take a 3,000-pound car and another 3,000-pound car, both going 50 miles an hour, they're closing at 100 miles an hour. And my grandbaby is sitting there. That is not okay. That's not okay. You shouldn't do that to yourself. You should love yourself more than to do that. Don't you want to be happy and have a happy life?
I do. That's why I came out here.
You're either going to get busted, or you're going to get killed, or you're going to get somebody else hurt or killed. How terrible would you feel if you hurt one of your children?
Absolutely awful.
Well, I want to introduce you to somebody else, because this is somebody that says she was just like Kelly. And she was always saying that nothing would ever happen to her. Because you kind of get this feeling that, you know, you're going to dodge the bullet. But a night of partying changed her life forever. We'll be right back.
I took a 25-mile-an-hour exit ramp at 72 miles an hour. I flipped my car twice. On 5 of the different guardrail posts, they found clumps of my hair and skin. I had no heartbeat, no pulse, no blood pressure.
My next guest, Sarah, says she never worried about driving drunk. But a near-fatal crash that left her in the hospital for 77 days. That was her rock bottom. This was a huge wake-up call. Take a look.
When I was 19, all I did was drink and party. There was never any talk about a designated driver. You drink, you party, and you drive home. But that all changed on August 23rd of 2003.
Sarah Ponzo, a former star athlete at Belleville West, behind the wheel with a .308 blood alcohol level. Ponzo destroyed her car.
The last thing that I remember is grabbing my keys at the bar that I was at. I made it 14 miles. I took a 25-mile-an-hour exit ramp at 72 miles an hour. I flipped my car twice, and I landed on the guardrail on the opposite side of the highway and was drugged 35 feet, hanging outside of the driver's window. My car then flipped another 2 times and landed in the middle of the highway on the roof with the wheels up in the air. On 5 of the different guardrail posts, they found clumps of my hair and skin. I was ejected out of the back windshield. The car actually landed 13 yards from my body. When the paramedics arrived on scene, I had no heartbeat, no pulse, no blood pressure. When they had moved my body, one of the paramedics put his hand on my chest, and I opened up my eyes and took a breath for air. My list of injuries was 2 pages long. The whole lower bottom part of my jaw had completely been broken from my face. I had fractured every vertebrae in my back but 5. My left leg from my knee down was completely flipped around. I remember my mother coming into the room, and she looked down at me and she said, "Could you imagine waking up out of your coma, Sarah, handcuffed to the bed rail? Because when you chose to go out, not only did you take advantage of your life that night, you could have killed somebody." None of that was ever even a thought when I was partying and then driving home.
Well, let's bring Sarah out to join us.
Thank you.
Have a seat right here. Well, Sarah, you've been watching and listening to the show from backstage, right?
Yes.
So, what's your thinking so far?
Well, my first thought was the entire time I've been watching everything that's coming out of your mouth, I said the exact same things. And quite honestly, if my crash wouldn't have happened, I'd probably be sitting right where you were, having the same conversation with Dr. Phil. Never think it's going to happen. You always think you're okay. I always tell people that think that way, you know, there's a certain thing when it comes to luck, that luck's going to change, and it'll eventually run out. And that's why I'm here.
What do you think about her story?
It's hurtful to hear something like that happened.
I was a good person, you know? I didn't have a problem.
What do you think it would have meant to your life if someone like Samantha had cared enough about you to get you in this chair before all of this happened to you?
You say you're not affecting anybody. Well, that's proof right there. People that you're not even probably aware of are affected. You know, and that should mean so much.
That's why I processed this, and I thought, at first I didn't want to come out. Of course, being embarrassed, people laughing at you, and thinking that, oh, how does she not know she has a problem? I think we all feel differently on the inside, just as any addiction from nicotine to eating to anything else. I mean, you can sit here and laugh, but it's not fun.
I'm going to give you one or two choices. One choice is that you get up from here and you go home, and I'm going to call the police department in your town. I'm going to tell them where you live, and I'm going to tell them that it's good public policy to get you off the street. The alternative is I'm willing to send you to rehab and make it possible for you to truly get a handle on what you're doing before you wind up going through what she's going through. Now, Rich Whitman is here. He's the president and executive director of the Origins Recovery Center. This is a center that doesn't really believe that one size fits all. They believe that everybody is different. Everybody has different issues. Everybody has different needs. They customize programs to meet people where they are and help them learn to celebrate their lives. I'm willing to make you that offer one time, and you take it or leave it. But those are your two choices. What do you want to do?
I know I do not want the first choice. I want to find why I'm like the way I am.
Well, you know what? There's an awful lot about the way you are that's just really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I really believe that. Rich, stand up. What do you think about this?
This isn't about this is about being sick and needing to get well.
This is a chance to hit the reset button on your life. And I want you to say yes. I want you to go sit down and talk with him and make these arrangements and get this done.
Okay.
So what are you going to do?
I want to go.
Well, I know when to stop talking. Next, it was a story that rocked the entertainment world and left fans, friends, and 2 families completely devastated. We'll be right back.
His daredevil acts catapulted him to stardom.
Dunn's Porsche hit the guardrail, launched into the woods before bursting into flames, killing Dunn and his passenger.
He was more than just a passenger. He was my brother. I fell to my knees and screamed over and over.
This past year, nearly 11,000 people died in drunk driving crashes. Now, hear what I just said, 11,000 people, which is exactly what happened this past summer when news hit that Ryan Dunn, a popular star from the MTV movies and TV show Jackass, had killed himself and his close friend in a horrific drunk driving accident. Take a look.
His daredevil acts catapulted him to stardom, but police say it was those same antics that led Ryan Dunn to speed off of a highway.
Dunn, who co-starred alongside Bam Margera in the Jackass series, was just 34 years old. Just after 2:30 Monday morning, Dunn's 2007 Porsche 911 GT3 hit the guardrail, launched into the woods, splitting apart a tree before bursting into flames, killing Dunn and his passenger. Police say it appears Dunn was driving faster than 130 miles per hour.
The second man killed is identified as 30-year-old Zachary Hardwell. Sources say he was a recently married Iraq War veteran.
Both Dunn and Hartwell were seen together in a picture on Dunn's Twitter account taken from inside his Barnaby's just before the crash. Police indicate Dunn's blood alcohol level was nearly twice the legal limit.
Well, there was a lot of attention on the loss of Ryan Dunn's life. But the sad reality is there was another person in that car that the media often referred to as the passenger. Well, that passenger had a name, and it was Zach Hartwell. And he was the silent victim in all of this. Now, his family has never spoken, but today, in an exclusive interview, Zach's older sister, Carrie, is here and says that she is devastated by the loss of her loving brother.
On June 20th, 2011, my brother Zach Hartwell passed away in a drunk driving accident. Zach was a passenger in Ryan Dunn's car.
Police say it appears Dunn was driving faster than 130 miles per hour.
The second man killed is identified as 30-year-old Zachary Hardwell.
Zach was my younger brother. He was my best friend. Losing him has been devastating. As soon as I heard that he was gone, I fell to my knees and screamed over and over. I'm angry because of the accident being senseless and so very avoidable, but I don't know how to be angry at Ryan. It's so difficult to be mad at someone who was such a good friend of my brother. Since that day, I've been in shock. I don't eat, I don't sleep, I can't work, I've just literally shut down. One of the most disheartening things was that the headlines read, Ryan Dunn and passenger died in a car accident.
Dunn's Porsche launched into the woods, killing Dunn and his passenger.
He was more than just a passenger. He was my brother. Since about 2 weeks after the accident, every time I go to sleep, I have the same recurring nightmare. It's as if I'm in front of the windshield of the car looking at my brother. I see my brother's face through the progression of the accident, from prior to the car losing control, when he's smiling, to him screaming. Every day I still struggle with the fact that Zach died. I'll never be able to move forward.
Well, Carrie, I'm really glad to meet you. Why did you finally want to come forward and speak?
It's been a little more than 6 months, and my family's been very quiet. I can't be quiet because this is, it's destroying me.
Let's talk about your brother for a minute. Who was he? What was he like?
Zach was amazing. He was a veteran. He was the funniest person I've ever met in my life. Incredibly sarcastic and inappropriate, and made everybody laugh even when you probably shouldn't be laughing. He had a dream and he was making it happen, and the end came way too soon.
Talk about what happened the moment that phone rang and you picked it up. Take us through that moment in time.
Well, it was actually myself calling my father back because I had missed 2 phone calls because I was sleeping. And I called him right back, and he said, "I have horrific news for you." And I said, "Okay, Dad, just tell me." And he said, "Zach's gone." I heard that, and it was so devastating. I literally fell on my knees next to my bed because I had just gotten up when I called him back and screamed over and over at the top of my lungs, "No, no, no," over and over. And then I realized that, oh my God, I was hurting my dad more. And I started to apologize for my reaction to my dad, because it must have been the worst phone call my dad ever had to make. And here he was getting put through more because I was reacting, and I kept saying, "I'm sorry, Dad, I'm so sorry for you. I'm so sorry for you." But my screams kind of woke up the whole house, and the next thing I know, my family was next to me. And it seems like I've never gotten out of that moment.
Are you upset with the driver?
Yeah, but how upset can you be when, you know, he lost his life too? But yes, I'm not upset with his family.
And he was drinking and driving, but from everything I understand, he was a terrific and loving guy and a good friend of your brother's.
He was a great friend, great friend to my brother.
What would you say to Zach if you could talk to him right now? What would you say to him if he was here?
It would be kind of sarcastic and inappropriate, but I'd tell him he lied to me because I was supposed to go first. I'm the oldest. And I'd tell him I love him.
And this is what I want people to understand. You know, Kelly was saying, I didn't realize this affected other people. But it does affect other people. Your life has come unwound.
Yeah.
You've quit your job. You said you don't go 5 minutes without thinking and hurting about this.
Never.
We got to talk about that. We're going to talk about how Carrie has to begin somehow to let go of the anger, the energy, the pain that she feels about her brother's tragic death. You may be in the same boat, so listen up with both ears. We'll be right back.
I've given my phone number out to every single person that I know. If they call, it means they've had something to drink and they don't have a ride. There are at least 100 people that know that if they need someone to drive them, all they have to do is call and I'll be there. I don't want another family to get the phone call that says that their son is gone.
Well, I'm here with Carrie, and her brother was the passenger that was killed in Ryan Dunn's car when he was driving drunk. Well, that passenger had a name, and it was Zach Hartwell. And his loss has meant a lot to a lot of people. You said you quit your job because you said you can never walk in an office again doing meaningless work. What do you mean?
It doesn't matter. I've lived for a lot of years. I have 3 adult children. I've had a really good life, and I've always thought that things that I did meant something. The phone call that I got about Zach changed everything about my life. From that moment on, I can never step back to June 19th and be the person who goes into the office and says good morning and gets coffee. It means nothing to me. saving somebody from going through this maybe will mean something to me.
Look, grief is a very individualized personal process.
Right.
And the length of your grief is not proportional to the depth of your love for the person that was lost. Because I'm one of those people that believes that when our loved ones pass, I think they are permitted an awareness of what's going on. And the worst thing you could do for your brother Zach is for him to know that for the rest of your life, he was a source of pain for you. And people sometimes get frozen in the moment. And how old was your brother?
30.
So your brother lived 30 years. 30 years of sharing joy, 30 years of happiness, 30 years of pride, 30 years of cheering him on, 30 years of supporting each other. But you choose to focus on the one moment that he died.
Right. I don't really want to.
And that is disproportionate. And I hope and pray that you will give yourself permission to say, you know what, I'm going to start celebrating the 30 years that this amazing young man was in this world instead of fixating on that one moment that he passed. Right. This was an amazing young man.
He was.
And I mean, look at this young man. You need to celebrate that. That needs to be a source of joy and pride and motivation for you, not a source of pain. And that begins with you giving yourself permission. And maybe it's that you just take 30 minutes in a given day and say, I'm going to celebrate his life for this 30 minutes. And then you use him and your love for him to drive you in doing what you're doing today. You came here to make a difference.
Yes.
And I believe she has made a difference. What do you say? You think about it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, next, we're going to talk about how the police are cracking down on DUI arrests. We'll be right back.
We're responding to one of our officers who's made an enforcement stop for erratic driving. All indicators of possibly being under the influence of alcohol.
Copy, so far.
We've been talking about the tragic consequences when someone chooses to drive drunk, and it is a choice. So we sent our cameras on a ride-along with the California Highway Patrol just to see how they keep us safe. And take a look.
My name is Sergeant Ray Bamby with the California Highway Patrol. It's Saturday night, one of our busier nights of the week, where we have a high number of DUI arrests. Last year, statewide, the CHP made over 78,000 DUI arrests. So right now we have a driver traveling at a speed of about 50 miles per hour where the posted speed limit is actually 65. They may just be lost or he may be under the influence of alcohol. We'll find out. Good evening. How are you doing? Good. We're in for a stop as you're going a little too slow. Driving too slow is sometimes an indicator someone's been driving under the influence of alcohol. Have you had anything to drink tonight? Yeah, I think so. Picking the kids up. Okay, everybody's got their seatbelts on, right? Yeah. You know, you need to really be good with the flow of traffic. You're impeding traffic. When you get on the freeway, build your speed up to the appropriate freeway speed. We're responding to one of our officers who's made an enforcement stop for erratic driving. On contacting the driver, the officer detected the smell of alcohol. He continued on with his investigation by asking a series of field sobriety test questions and a field sobriety test which he is currently administering at this time.
Put your left foot right on that line. Put your right foot in front.
The driver is unable to maintain his balance. This time, this driver is under arrest for driving over the legal limit. He's actually twice over the legal limit.
He nearly collided into the wall on more than one occasion. He could definitely cause a collision.
It was good to know that we were able to get this impaired driver off the roadway where he could have continued on the road and possibly hurt or killed someone else, if not himself.
There are many signs to tell whether someone is intoxicated, but Captain Menzel has given us the top ones to look for. Number one, you say bloodshot eyes. That's a giveaway, right?
Yes, bloodshot or droopy eyes.
Right, and not paying attention. Their clothes are disheveled.
Correct.
Yeah. They need to hold on something to keep their balance.
Their gait is off.
Of course, slurred speech. They're not attentive to the conversation, and they're in complete denial, right? I mean,
Most of the time, sir.
They don't have any insight to what's going on.
Correct, sir.
If we pick up the phone and call 911 and say, I'm at the 42nd mile marker on the 101 and somebody's driving erratically, do y'all want those calls? Will somebody respond to that?
Yes, sir. What I recommend is that you observe, get a description of the vehicle, get the license number, and pull off to the side of the road before you make that phone call.
Oh, of course. Yeah, naturally. Now, a great way to ensure that you are under the legal limit to drive is by purchasing your own breathalyzer. This is called Backtrack. They make personal and professional alcohol breathalyzers. So we're going to send everybody home with one of these today. Okay? We'll be right back. We've been talking about what I think is a very important subject, and a special thanks to Captain Menzel, who conducted the drunk driving simulation, and also Sergeant Gomez, thank you for all your help in making all of this come together. And I'd like to thank LAPD's Valley Traffic Division, the California Highway Patrol, and Rich Whitman from Origins Recovery Center. Carrie, I hope I said some things that you'll think about, and I would love to arrange for you to have some time with a grief counselor. We want to take care of you.
Thanks.
Okay, so we'll do that, all right?
Okay.
Thanks for being here so long. Well, guys, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Sergeant, thank you so much. Thanks, guys. How you doing? Good to see y'all. Thanks.
Bounce, bounce, all the girlies bounce. Take them to my house, turn the party out. Bounce, 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 all the girlies bounce. Take them to my house, turn the party out.
You warned me 1,000 times, memories can kill ya, but I didn't hear ya. I thought that I could fly, but woke up on the asphalt. I swear there was the last time. I've always been naive, call it